You've probably heard this advice before. Just don't get angry. Like anger is a switch you can flip. But that's not how human neurology works, is it? I'm going to show you something different. Not toxic positivity, not suppression, not pretending you don't feel anything. I'm talking about understanding anger so deeply that you genuinely stop reacting to it. My name is Elijah, and today we're exploring the neuroscience, psychology, and practical mechanics of emotional mastery. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why anger happens, why some people never seem to get triggered, and the precise framework to join that group. This isn't theoretical. This is applied neuroscience that rewires how your brain responds to threat. Let's begin. First, we need to understand what anger actually is. Anger isn't a character flaw. It's not a choice in the moment it happens. Anger is a survival response, hardwired into your amygdala, the threat detection system in your brain. When you perceive a threat, real or imagined, your amygdala fires before your prefrontal cortex even knows what's happening. In 50 milliseconds, chemicals flood your system. Cortisol, adrenaline, your heart rate spikes, tunnel vision sets in. You're literally in fight mode. The problem? Most modern triggers aren't physical threats. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your boss takes credit for your work. Someone disagrees with you online. Your nervous system treats these exactly like a predator attack. Your amygdala doesn't have a calendar. It can't tell the difference between a genuine physical threat and perceived disrespect. It only knows threat detected, fire, react. Here's how it typically works. First, the trigger happens. Something external occurs. Then comes interpretation. Your brain assigns meaning. This is unfair. They're disrespecting me. This shouldn't be happening. That's not automatic. That's learned. That's where change happens. Then comes the emotional response. You feel the heat, the frustration, the rage, and finally, the action, the thing you regret later. Most people try to skip straight to controlling the action phase. I won't yell. I won't punch the wall. But that's like trying to stop a tidal wave by building a bigger boat. You're fighting at the wrong level. Real change happens at the interpretation phase. That's where we rebuild. Here's what's important. Your brain is fundamentally plastic. That means it changes. The more you interpret something as threatening, the more your amygdala reinforces that pathway. The neurons that fire together wire together. This is Hebb's law. But the inverse is also true. The more you interpret something as non-threatening, the less your amygdala fires. You can literally rewire your threat detection system. This isn't willpower. This isn't positive thinking. This is mechanically rebuilding your neural pathways through repetition and exposure. Most people stay trapped in anger because of one word: expectations. You expect people to behave a certain way. You expect the world to be fair. You expect traffic to move smoothly. You expect respect. The moment reality doesn't match your expectation, anger follows. Let me ask you, who decides what should happen? You. You're the only one who decided, and now you're furious that reality didn't consult you first. This is what we call attachment-based suffering. You've attached your sense of reality to how you think things should be. When they're not, you suffer. There's another layer: identity. You've tied your self-worth to outcomes and other people's behavior. Someone criticizes your work, and you hear, "You're not valuable." Someone ignores you, and you hear, "You're not important." Someone disagrees, and you hear, "You're not right." None of those are true. Someone criticized your work. That's it. But your ego made it mean something about your core identity. People stay angry because they're defending an identity they're not even sure they want. Here's what nobody talks about. Anger serves you. It's not a bug. It's a feature. At least your brain thinks so. Anger gives you a sense of power. You feel something. In a life of numbness or powerlessness, that's seductive. Anger justifies your behavior. They made me do it. Anger gets you attention. People react to anger. Anger is familiar. If you grew up around it, your nervous system craves it. Until you understand what anger is giving you psychologically, you'll keep creating situations that trigger it. You'll keep staying addicted to the adrenaline. Your nervous system has two speeds: sympathetic, which is the gas pedal, fight or flight, and parasympathetic, which is the brake, rest and digest. Most angry people are living in chronic sympathetic activation. They're always a little bit on alert. Their resting heart rate is elevated. Their jaw is tense. They're exhausted. The vagus nerve is the main parasympathetic pathway. When you activate it, magic happens. Your heart rate drops. Your perception widens. Oxytocin floods your system. You see situations more clearly because you're not in survival mode anymore. People who never get angry have strong vagal tone. They can dial down their sympathetic system almost at will. Here's what research shows. People with poor vagal tone get angrier faster and stay angry longer. People with strong vagal tone need a much bigger trigger, and they recover quickly. How do you build vagal tone? This is the practical part. Cold exposure, breathing exercises, cardiovascular training, meditation, singing, social connection. Not to be Pollyanna-ish, but genuine friendship literally rewires your nervous system. Laughing rewires it. These aren't metaphors. These are measurable changes in vagal tone. Your prefrontal cortex is your executive function. It's what makes you human. It's rational. It's wise. It can override your amygdala. But here's the problem. When you're angry, your prefrontal cortex is literally offline. The blood flow diverts to your limbic system. You have tunnel vision. You can't think straight. This is sometimes called amygdala hijacking. This is why you can't think your way out of anger in the moment. You're not equipped to. But, and this is crucial, you can build a stronger prefrontal cortex over time through practices that require self-regulation, deliberate practice, cold exposure, meditation, fasting. These train your prefrontal cortex to come back online faster. Every person has trigger patterns, not random triggers, but predictable ones. For some people, it's disrespect. For others, it's unfairness. For some, it's incompetence. For others, it's being ignored. Your specific triggers usually connect to your deepest wounds or your core values. Someone who was neglected as a child gets triggered by being ignored. Someone who grew up in chaos gets triggered by disorder. Someone who values fairness gets triggered by injustice. None of those are random. This is deep. To never get angry again, you need to identify your specific trigger pattern, not everyone else's, yours. Write this down. What makes you angriest? Not upset, angriest. What specific behavior from others or what specific situations make you want to explode? Once you identify the pattern, you can start working with it. As long as it's unconscious, it owns you. This is from cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's incredibly effective. Here's how it works. Situation. Write down exactly what happened. My colleague took credit for my project in the meeting. Automatic thought. What's the first thought that went through your mind? They're trying to make me look bad. They think I'm weak. Everyone thinks I'm incompetent now. Emotion. What did you feel? Rage, humiliation, betrayal. Behavioral response. What did you do or want to do? Yell, quit, send an angry email. Now comes the reframe. Alternative thought? What else could this mean? Maybe they forgot to mention me. Maybe they're internally competing. Maybe they're insecure. Maybe this is just about their ambition, not about me. New emotion? How do you feel with this perspective? Calmer, more objective, less personal. New behavior? What could you do from here? Have a calm conversation. Let it go. Document your contributions. Adjust your work environment. This isn't positive thinking. This is realistic thinking. You're adding data. Your automatic thought was incomplete. Here's a powerful one. Most anger comes from confused responsibility. You feel responsible for things you're not responsible for. Other people's opinions, the weather, traffic, how others perceive you, whether people like you. And you're not responsible for things you are responsible for. Your own response, your own growth, your own interpretation. This framework is simple. What is actually in your control here? Traffic? No. Your emotional response to traffic? Yes. Whether someone respects you? No. Whether you respect yourself? Yes. Whether someone behaves how you want? No. How you interpret their behavior? Yes. When you clarify responsibility, you stop fighting battles you can't win, and you focus energy where it actually works. Here's a question. How important will this be in 10 years? Usually the answer is not very. Most anger comes from myopia. You're zoomed in too close. You can't see the bigger timeline. When you deliberately zoom out, when you ask yourself how this moment fits into your life trajectory, your perspective changes. That embarrassing moment, it'll be forgotten in weeks. That unfair comment, one data point in a lifetime of experiences. That person who wronged you, they're probably not thinking about it anymore. They've moved on. This isn't suppression, this is perspective, and perspective is reality. The absolute foundation is this: you cannot control your immediate reaction, but you can control what you do in the next 10 seconds. When you feel anger starting, that heat, that tightness, you have a window. It's small.
Maybe 10 seconds. In that window, your job is one thing: pause. Don't try to control what you feel. Don't try to think clearly. Just pause. Breathe. Specifically, extend your exhale. If you breathe in for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 6 or 8. This directly activates your parasympathetic nervous system. It's not emotional, it's mechanical. Count backward from 10. This gives your prefrontal cortex a chance to come back online. Change your physical position. Stand up, move your body, shake. This interrupts the pattern. Leave the room if possible. Remove yourself from the triggering stimulus. The goal isn't to solve anything. The goal is to give your nervous system a chance to downregulate. When someone is angry, they usually want one thing: to feel heard. But we skip that. We go straight to defending or explaining, and that makes it worse. If someone is upset with you, the fastest path through is this: validate first. I can see this is really frustrating for you. That makes sense why you'd feel that way. I hear you. You're not agreeing. You're acknowledging reality, their reality. This is disarming because it's the opposite of what they expect. And when someone's expectations are violated, it requires more processing power. It pulls them out of fight mode. Then, only then, you can have a conversation. If expectations create anger, then managing expectations prevents anger. This doesn't mean having low expectations, it means having accurate expectations. Before you enter any situation, a meeting, a conversation, a project, ask yourself, what am I expecting here? What exactly do I think will happen? Then ask, is that realistic? What's the probability? What could go wrong? When you do this, you're no longer blindsided, you're prepared, and preparation reduces reactivity. Additionally, lower your expectations for other people. Most people are just trying to get through the day. They're not thinking about you. They're not trying to sabotage you. They're distracted. When you expect less from others, you're less disappointed. And when you're less disappointed, you're less angry. This might sound basic, but it's neurologically powerful. When you're in anger, your brain is in threat mode. Your attention narrows to what's wrong. You can't see what's right. Gratitude literally redirects your neural pathways. It's not toxic positivity, it's redirecting your attention to what actually exists that's good. When you feel anger rising, interrupt it. What's one thing right now, in this moment, that I'm grateful for? Your breath, your body, someone you love, a place you can go, something that worked today. This isn't suppressing anger, this is expanding your perspective. Both anger and gratitude exist. You're just choosing which one gets your attention. The most underrated tool for emotional mastery is cold exposure. I'm talking about cold showers or ice baths. Why? Because when you voluntarily expose yourself to discomfort, intense, real discomfort, you're training your nervous system. You're teaching it that discomfort isn't a threat that requires reaction. You're in the shower, it's freezing. Your first instinct is panic, but you stay, you breathe. You notice, I'm not dying, I'm uncomfortable, and I'm fine. This experience reprograms your nervous system. It makes real threats feel less severe because you've already faced something that felt threatening and survived. This is called stress inoculation. The military uses it, special forces use it, athletes use it. And it works. People who do regular cold exposure get angry less. They recover from anger faster. Meditation is not about achieving blankness. It's about developing meta-awareness, the ability to watch your own thoughts without being captured by them. In meditation, you notice there's a thought, there's an emotion, there's a sensation. You're not the thought, you're the observer of the thought. This is revolutionary because most people are trapped in their thoughts. A thought arises and they believe it as absolute truth. Through meditation, you develop the ability to see your angry thoughts as just thoughts, not facts, not commands to act, just neural firing patterns. When you can do that, anger has no power. It can arise, but you don't follow it. Here's something counterintuitive. People who train intensely get angry less. Why? Because they have a metabolic outlet for their nervous system activation. They have a healthy way to discharge the energy that anger creates. Additionally, when you regularly push yourself physically, truly push yourself, you develop confidence and you desensitize yourself to discomfort. You learn, I can do hard things. Difficult situations don't break me. This psychological resilience transfers everywhere. Minor frustrations feel minor because you faced real challenge. You cannot separate emotional regulation from physical health. This is basic neuroscience. When you're sleep deprived, your amygdala is hyperactive. Everything feels like a threat. You get angry at things that normally wouldn't bother you. When you're poorly nourished, your prefrontal cortex doesn't have the resources to regulate emotions. Your blood sugar crashes, your mood crashes, you get reactive. When you're dehydrated, your cognition is impaired. You can't think clearly, you can't regulate. These aren't separate from emotional mastery, they're the foundation. A person with 8 hours of sleep, good nutrition, hydration, and movement will have better emotional regulation than a person doing all the advanced techniques while neglecting basics. Start there. One of the deepest causes of anger is identity overinvestment. You've decided that you are your job, you are your social status, you are what others think of you. So when those things are threatened, you experience it as a threat to your existence. But here's the reality. You are not your job. You are not your status. You are not what others think. You're the conscious observer experiencing all of these things. When you make this distinction, when you realize that your core being is separate from your outcomes, everything changes. Your job is threatened. That's happening to one aspect of your life. It's not happening to you fundamentally. Someone criticizes you. They're criticizing your work or your behavior. They're not criticizing your existence. This isn't nihilism, this is clarity. You can still care about your work, you can still engage with life, but you're no longer dependent on outcomes for your worth. People who are connected to a larger purpose get angry less. Why? Because when your life is about something bigger than yourself, minor slights stop mattering. You're not angry because someone disrespected you. You're too focused on the meaningful work you're doing. You don't have time for that. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, wrote about this. He said that meaning is the primary human need. When people have meaning, they can endure almost anything. When they lack meaning, small things become huge. If you're easily angered, ask yourself, am I connected to a larger purpose, or am I just chasing status and validation? Because if it's the latter, every small threat will feel devastating. Finally, anger often comes from powerlessness. When you feel powerless, you feel threatened, and threat creates anger. But when you feel competent, when you know you can handle what comes, threat doesn't feel like threat. It feels like a challenge. This is why expertise is common. A surgeon doesn't panic during surgery. A pilot doesn't panic during turbulence. They've trained. They know they can handle it. As you develop competence in your life, real skills, real abilities, you become harder to anger. You believe you can handle what comes. Every morning before you engage with the world, set your nervous system. This takes 10 minutes, not an hour. 10. First, cold exposure. Cold shower or ice bath if possible. If not, cold water on your face. Then, breath work. 5 minutes of extended exhale breathing. Then, meditation or visualization. 5 minutes of noticing your thoughts without judgment. This primes your nervous system for the day. You're starting from a calm baseline. From there, it's much harder to get triggered. Throughout your day, when you feel anger rising, you have a toolkit. The pause protocol. Breathe, count, move, leave. The perspective shift. How important is this in 5 years? The validation technique.
What's the legitimate emotion underneath this? The thought record. What else could this mean? The gratitude interrupt. What am I grateful for right now? Your breath, your body, someone you love, a place you can go, something that worked today. This isn't suppressing anger, this is expanding your perspective. Practice one, master it, then add another. You're building skill. Every evening, take 5 minutes to reflect. When did I feel triggered today? What was the actual trigger? What was my interpretation? Was my interpretation accurate? What would a wiser version of me have interpreted? You're not judging yourself, you're learning. You're building the neural pathways that make anger less automatic and less intense. Once a week, review the week. What triggered me? Was there a pattern? Did I handle anything well? Where could I improve? This isn't obsessive, this is deliberate practice. You're training your mind the way an athlete trains their body. Over weeks and months, the changes compound. You'll notice you're not as reactive, you're not as defensive, you're not as quick to anger. And then one day, you'll be in a situation that would have made you furious, and you'll just respond calmly, and you'll realize it's working. Here's an advanced reframe. Anger isn't your enemy, it's information. Anger arises when you perceive a boundary violation. Someone disrespected you, something unfair happened, your values were challenged. Instead of reacting to anger, you can extract the information. What boundary do I need to communicate? What value am I committed to? What am I willing to accept? Then you can act from clarity, not from reactivity. This is sophisticated emotional intelligence. You're using the energy of anger without being controlled by it. As you develop this skill, something else happens. You develop compassion for your own reactivity. You realize you weren't being stupid or weak when you got angry. You were functioning from a nervous system that hadn't been trained yet. You can look back at situations where you exploded.
And instead of shame, you can see, I was doing the best I could with the skills I had. And that compassion extends to others. When someone else gets angry, you don't judge them. You see, their nervous system is activated. They haven't trained this yet. They're not bad. They're just not skilled. This compassion creates a kind of immunity to anger. You stop taking people's anger personally because you understand it. Finally, if you experience chronic anger, this can be your biggest wake-up call. It means something in your life needs to change. Your job might be wrong. Your relationship might be wrong. Your environment might be wrong. Instead of just managing the anger, listen to it. What is it telling you? Use it as information to make real changes. Change jobs, end the relationship, change your environment, develop new skills. When you listen to anger and act on it, the chronic anger often resolves. Here's what we've covered today. Anger is a survival response, not a character flaw. It's manageable through understanding your nervous system, reframing your thoughts, and building long-term practices. The people who never get angry aren't suppressing anything. They've trained their minds and bodies to respond differently. They've built strong vagal tone. They've developed precise cognitive frameworks. They've integrated practices into their daily lives. This isn't mystical. This isn't about being emotionless. This is about being intelligent with your emotions. Here's your starting point. This week, identify your core trigger. What specifically makes you angriest? Then, practice one intervention when you feel it arising. Just one. Master it. Next week, add another layer. Over weeks and months, you're building skill. You're training yourself the way a martial artist trains. And then, one day, you'll realize, I'm not angry about things that used to make me furious. And it won't be because you're pretending. It'll be because you've genuinely rewired how you respond. That's real power. Not the power to control others, the power to control yourself. If you found this valuable, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear this. Drop a comment with your biggest trigger. Let's build a community of people actually mastering this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.